So, hello, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us today and to go run through this interview about your amazingly interesting role and the career you've had to date. To start with, if you'd like to introduce yourself, your role, and the organisation you work with.
I'm Kevin Brown. I'm the Trust Archivist and Alexander Fleming Laboratory Museum at Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust. Bit of a mouthful, but basically I'm an archivist and museum curator within the National Health Service.
Wow, interesting. Why is that important?
Well, for one thing, the National Health Service records and archives are considered to be of national importance and public records. So there's a statutory obligation to preserve them and make them available. But beyond that, for hospital trusts, there are lots of advantages. There's a public relations advantage. For example, last year we did quite a lot on the history of Charing Cross Hospital, which was celebrating its bicentenary. So past and present come together. I was heavily involved the year before with the celebration of the National Health Service. In fact, I went up to a health management conference in Manchester and gave some presentations on the history of the NHS to try and enthuse managers to celebrate it. But in addition to that, I think sometimes in times of uncertainty, a sense of tradition and history can give you a feeling of more security.
Yeah, and that couldn't be. We're recording this during COVID-19. We're all locked down at the moment, and that's so important right now. And how we're all celebrating the NHS. It's really important. Thank you very much for that. So, what I'd be really interested here, and I know the students as well. What does a typical day, if there is ever such a thing, what does a typical day look like, or a typical week in your role?
Well, there's never such a thing. I could be dealing with enquiries from the public, either by telephone, letter, or email. Then I supervise a team of volunteers in the Fleming Museum, which is a reconstruction of Fleming's lab as it was when he discovered penicillin there. And also I do give presentations there myself to schools, colleges, universities, women's institutes, all sorts of groups. And believe it or not, they don't just come from this country. Some of them come from France, some from Italy, the United States, Scandinavia. So we have an international appeal. But also I will go out and give talks to different groups, mainly on the history of medicine. And those talks have taken me all over the world as well. So there's a nice international dimension. Last year, for example, I went to Lisbon to give a talk at the university there. And that was for a project on the colour of labour on emigration.
Wow.
So you can get involved in lots of things.
Brilliant, fantastic. And so you're involved in those kind of projects, and you mentioned there about your volunteers and the people that work with you. Is there a team that obviously there's a team with the museum you mentioned there, but is there a team in the archive as well?
At the moment, no. In the past, there has been an assistant archivist who is professionally qualified. And the assistant archivists have come from a variety of backgrounds, but all of them have studied for first degree and then got themselves a postgraduate qualification. Most of them did history, as you'd expect, but one of them did archaeology, another one did English. And what matters is not the first degree, but the postgraduate qualification, a diploma in archives administration or a museum's qualification. And generally what you do would be to get a diploma and then put forward a dissertation and get an MA, or in some universities an MSc.
Okay, brilliant. So that's kind of the formal route into it, and there are opportunities for people to build their career that way. But I imagine it's not just about the formal qualification. What else can a young person, particularly our audience, are 16 to 18, thinking about what their next step's going to be, thinking about what their career could be? What are the other things that people should be doing to make themselves attractive?
Well, I've always said that for this job, you learn the basics on the archives courses, but experience is what counts. You learn more actually doing the job than you ever could from a course, like with most things. Now, that experience comes after you've done the course, but in order to get on a course, you do these days need to have a lot of experience. So what I'd recommend is volunteer in a museum, volunteer in an archives. Generally, there'd be an effort made to give you something interesting to do. Even in these times when most archives and all museums are closed, it's still possible to do some voluntary work. For example, tasks like online indexing to catalogues, all useful things, but which will give you that experience, which could give you the edge when it comes to getting on a course and also later on getting a job.
Brilliant.
Now, we have offered some placements for students, and also over the last few years we have had interns. Now, in most cases these have been on European Union schemes, which have been designed to give young people an opportunity to work in another country, improve their language skills, and also improve their employability and work skills. And we've had students from Italy and Spain, and they've been very successful. So there are all sorts of opportunities out there. You've got to look for them and take them.
And in terms of looking for them, what would you do? Would you use, I don't know, tools like LinkedIn to contact museums you might be interested in? What would be your recommendation for our young students watching this?
I'd say use LinkedIn. Also, go to the websites of the particular museum or archive you're interested in. Find out a bit more from it on then. And then approach them directly, either phone up or email, and show how enthusiastic you are to work at that particular place. Because enthusiasm counts a lot as well.
And let's explore that a little bit more, Kevin. So how would a 17, 18-year-old ringing you up demonstrate to you? So ringing up will be quite a big thing for them to be able to do.
Yes.
But how would they demonstrate onto the phone their enthusiasm for coming and working alongside you in an internship?
Well, explain that why they want to work in a museum or work in an archive, why heritage and history matter to them so much, but also show that they've found out a little bit by some advanced research about the organisation they're applying to. So really point out why you want to work at a particular place doing a particular job.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so if they were doing, so it's almost like a telephone interview then. So what would be the next step? So somebody's come up and they say, oh, they sound quite interesting. I'd invite them in. Would that be the next step? You'd invite them in for like a more formal interview?
That would be the next step, although with interviews for volunteers, I like to make them as informal as possible. So really, that stage would be a two-way process. I would explain what was involved, and also would like the student to say, yes, this is what I want to do, or no, I don't think it's for me. And it wouldn't waste anyone's time to do that, because as I say, it's a two-way process. What we want is the right fit, and for a volunteer to be happy and feel they're getting something out of it, as well as for us to have someone we can depend on.
And the positions, do they tend to be a block of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, or do they tend to be a day a week? What sort of opportunities might be out there?
Well, I found that short 1 or 2 week placements just aren't long enough. So if someone was able to come in, say, once a week, that would be good. Now, for our overseas interns, who were, I should say, paid by the organisation arranging the internship, they would come for maybe a month, 2 months, or in one case, 6 months. And that was almost working full time. But for most people, say 1 day a week or even half a day a week, over a period of time will give them better experience than just coming along on a work placement and they're just starting to settle in and they go.
Yeah, that's really valuable. Fantastic. And as a career choice, obviously you're passionate about what you do, and it's the career that you've done. Well, if somebody wanted to follow your footsteps, are there lots of opportunities out there? Are there more people than there are jobs? What is it like as a career opportunity?
Unfortunately, there are far too many people chasing after too few jobs. And some really good candidates might not even get an interview. The last time I interviewed for an assistant archivist, which was about 5 years ago, there were over 200 applicants.
Wow.
Now, not all of them were serious candidates, but any of them could have been really good. But it had to be whittled down to about 4 or 5 people for interview. And even then, at the interview, they were all good. And it then depended on who would fit in best. Now, in that particular case, we got somebody who was excellent and stayed for 5 years.
Yeah, brilliant. And just explain to me that process. So you went from 200 applicants down to 4 or 5, and then through the interview process. That's a tremendous process to go through. How quickly do you get from 200 down to 20, and on what basis might they be? And then how would you get from 20 down to 4 or 5? What were the key things you might be looking for at those moments?
It has to be done very quickly. And in a big organisation, you also have to adhere to the policy guidelines. So a lot of people just don't either have the basic qualifications or they haven't shown that they match the job description and person specification. So what they really have to do is show that they've looked at the job, they know what's involved, and they've shown how they match the criteria. If they don't, then unfortunately, they get marked down.
Yeah.
Then it's a case of looking at which candidates will be the best fit. And then you just, sometimes I think it can even be luck. Although I like to think that the process is fair and it gets down to good candidates. And then it's who performs best on the day.
Yeah. And so when you're doing that first, you've got that first tranche out the way, the experience, that's where the experience piece comes in, isn't it? So that's where having spent at 17 a day a week volunteering for a museum really comes to the fore.
It very much does. Because even though the stage we're talking about is when somebody has the qualification, the fact that they've got the experience beforehand shows a sense of dedication. Because you're going to assume that everybody coming for the job who has the qualifications has the basics and they can do the job, but you're looking for that bit extra. So in an application, the candidate should try and show something that makes them stand out. I'll give you two examples. In one case, I had an applicant from someone who had, while he was studying, had also worked as a care assistant. Now, totally unrelated to the job, but it says something about the quality of the person and character of the person. In another case, somebody, while out of work, had taken on a menial job. And again, that just showed this is someone with a sense of responsibility. And you feel somebody who will perhaps do a good job, the job they want to do, as well as the jobs they've had to do.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Kevin, thank you. It's been really, really interesting talking to you, and you've offered some really great nuggets of experience from your experience to our student audience. Anything you'd like to say to them before we leave?
All I'd like to say is work hard, get your grades, think of what you want to do, and even if it seems unrealistic at the moment, if it's what you really want, find out how to do it and then go for it. If you don't succeed, then you don't, but you never know. You might overcome the odds, and that's the important thing, that you've made the attempt.
Brilliant. Kevin, thank you so much for giving up your time today. It's been lovely talking to you.
Pleasure.
And wish you a good day and good luck with everything that is going on at the moment.
Right, thank you.